In attempting to describe a man such as George Cadle Price, the English language shows her limitations. So, ladies and gentlemen, where do I start? You know, the words, hero, father of the nation, timeless inspiration of our beloved nation. While all appropriate, they fall short of encapsulating this man to whom we owe so much. So it is perhaps not only better, but more appropriate that I leave that seemingly impossible task to those who are personally and professionally closer to this legend. Certainly should leave the pictures to speak for themselves. They do a much better job than I will. What I can tell you is that about 31 years ago, when I was 7 years old, I was taken down to the park in San Ignacio, in front of the police station, to a crowd of no doubt a few thousand. There we stood, my now ailing father and I, and we waited for what seemed like an eternity. My father, noticing the obvious frustration, leaned over to me, where I stood in one of those park benches, looked me in the eye and assured me that what I was about to be a part of is something that I would forever remember. You see, this was the 20th of September 1981, and we were surrounded by expectant Belizeans, proud Belizeans, Belizeans of all colors from all over the district. People who behaved like if they were about to win the lottery, not least among them, my father. And after the celebrations and fireworks, and after the tears of joy, and after the hugs by complete strangers, we walked home. And on that short walk home, when I was no doubt half asleep, I was told the story of a man who made this incredible party possible. And while I cannot remember what I must have thought back then, I can assure you that I must have been convinced that any man who was able to pull off a party of this magnitude must truly be a special man. And it wasn't until later in life that I realized that this man who had pulled off this party on the 21st of September 1981, that man was the one who inspired my parents, my giants, my mother, a school teacher, my father, a cabinet maker, to be the best versions of themselves. For us, their children, for the many hundreds my mother must have taught, for the many days my father worked sun up to sundown, except Sundays. You see, my friends, my parents were a part of this generation of Belizeans, thousands of them, I am sure you know several, who began to build this nation, worrying not about overtime, preoccupied not with perks or fancy vehicles. There was pride in what they did. There was purpose to their work, and there was humility in their demeanor. They were the generation inspired by that soft-spoken man in the Land Rover. That beacon of a man who entertained not his ego, who worried not about perks. Man who understood that the concept of nationhood, while ephemeral in its inclusion of all our people, is prescriptive in its demand for discipline and sacrifice. So here we are, 1 year later, honoring that man, a man whom we have lost in life, but whose example burns deeply in our soul. And now that our nation is going through this seemingly dark and difficult time, we pray that somebody like George Cadle Price, that humble man, remains our beacon. The man remains our compass. So on behalf of the entire team at Belize Natural Energy, I want to thank the George Price Center and the family of the late George Cadle Price for inviting us to participate this evening. For B&E, it is a privilege to honor the man who inspired so many for so long.